Hello, and I'm back again with Liam, and today we're going to discuss the Grand National. Easy job this, Liam. So, the Racing Post today has the following headline: shortest price national favourite for 20 years, I believe it says, and we're referring to On His Own, which is obviously looked to be picked by Ruby Walsh. We've lost Prince de Beauchamp. He represents the mighty Willie Mullins. Thoughts?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've seen that he's 6-1 in places this morning. I mean, that is an absolutely scandalous price for a national. I mean, you'd have to think he's got at least a stone in hand, and he's going to get round. I mean, he's probably only a shade of odds on to even get round. I mean, 6-1. If you're backing him at 6-1, come and get it. Is all I can say there. I mean, you've got to be asking yourself some fundamental questions backing horses at 6-1 in the national.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very short price to be 10 the field on the day, isn't it? They will look to get the money in here. I suppose, I mean, he's a big liability to us already. The rumour got out Walsh is going to choose him. The bookie's just saying no more, please. And they'll wait till the day and then go big again. I
mean, he was going pretty well last year when he fell at Beeches. I mean, there's no denying that, but I mean, there's a lot of water to go under the bridge after that.
I think he's on a lower mark, actually. I think he's actually turned up a lower mark this year. I'm pretty certain he's a 141 last year, 143.
Sure of that,
he was the one, every year look for the previous year's national, the one that was going really well. He was the one last year. I think he traded in running favourite under Paul Townend.
Yeah.
Walsh is master getting them round. I totally respect his chance, but I totally agree with you. If you want to take 6-1 this, you probably need to see a doctor.
Absolutely. I mean, that sums it up for me. I mean, he is the horse that's most likely to win the race, but if that chance is reflected in 6-1, then I'd just give up, to be honest.
Continuing on, did well last year theme, Seabass, Katie Walsh. I think she'll obviously ride again. It was bang there over the last. In fact, it probably looked the winner and got outstayed ultimately, or out-battled, But excellent first run there and looks the type to do well every year.
Yeah, I quite liked Seabass last year. I mean, he was one of the surprise packages of last season, really. Obviously, he came third. He put to bed some stamina doubts that way. There was quite a few people suggesting that he wouldn't stay. I think if the ground came up soft, I would be slightly concerned. I know that he likes soft ground. I know that he's won on heavy before. I just think that this trip is an absolute maximum for him. That's not to say that he hasn't got a great chance. He's had a much lighter campaign this year. I think the National was sort of an afterthought last year. Sort of racked up a few wins off like some lowly marks in Irish Chasers, and then just the National was just an afterthought.
Would be fantastic if a woman could win the National. Katie Walsh is top quality, isn't she?
She's already the most successful national jockey just by virtue of coming third last year. So yeah, it'd be great for the sport if Seabass could do it this year.
Well, with Ted Walsh's horses, Corbett Station, he trains this for JP McManus. Interesting campaign this year, sort of marked himself down as a really progressive chaser, then went back to hurdles and won again. A lot of people think this is a real live one. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'm one of those people, Trev. I think he's hugely interesting. He's really taken off this season. We won a big 3-mile chase at Leopardstown, and then it was a pretty laboured effort over hurdles. I watched it back last night, and I mean, he was really hard ridden, but once he got to the front, he pricked his ears, looked like he had quite a lot in hand. I mean, that was off a very low mark compared to his chase mark, but I think he could be the real plunge horse of the National. Every year there's always one that opens up 14, 16s on the day, goes off 8s,
and that would be really helped if AP McCoy rides, which he probably will.
I think so. I think McCoy will pick him over Sunny Hill Boy. I think also I just have this feeling that he's going to be price wise as well. I know that I really just think that he's going to be the horse that people lash onto, not just for the McCoy effect. I think he's got a great chance.
Sunny Hill Boy second last year. Richard McGrath rode, probably ride again. Do you think he's got any chance of? I mean, he's higher, but
yeah, it's fair to say he's a horse who saves his best for the big day, as it were. Obviously, he's second in this last year. His 2 efforts so far deserve about as much attention as some pre-season friendly in football or something like that. It's just impossible to say what form he goes into this race. I think you have to assume that he's going to come into it in the same as last year. He's on a £10 higher mark. He's going to have to improve. I mean, obviously he's got another good chance, but again, if he couldn't win it last year, I don't think you'd be rushing to back him at a shorter price off a £10 higher mark this year, especially if McCoy goes for Corbett Station.
Also well fancied in the market is Evan Williams' Kappa Blur. Obviously State of Play has been placed about 3 times this race. This is the same owners. What sort of chance do you give him?
Yeah, it's a sort of rinse and repeat for the Evan Williams team with the Kappa Blur. He's a pretty hard horse to pin down for me. He's not exactly had the most strenuous of careers for an 11-year-old coming up through the point in ranks. He's clearly had his problems in the past, but he was hampered and came 4th last year. I watched the race again, and I mean, he was pretty far out of his ground at points, and again, he just reminds me of his state of play, and even Big Fella thanks him that he's going to come fourth or fifth. He's going to run really well, but I think his chance may have gone. I think last year was maybe his best chance of winning.
Another one, similar price, Chicago Grey. I think likely to be ridden the same, quietly out the back, creepy into the race. Not for me, I think it'd be too far out of its ground again, but a lot of people fancy this, and it did chew it up a good win the other day at a big price.
Yeah, this was another one of my darts at the race last year. From a handicapping perspective, it's actually quite interesting. I mean, he's off a £7 lower mark this year. On the face of it, he looks quite exposed. There's quite a lot of runs in his history, especially over fences, where you can't really give a valid reason as to why he ran so poorly. I wouldn't be rushing out to back him at 14s, but as the race draws closer, he's one of those that he does interest me, really. I think his jumping is also a slight concern, but he has an ideal run style for this race. I know that you can get too far out of your ground, but I think he travels well. I remember he won, was it the 4 miler he won at Cheltenham a few years back? If he repeats that sort of form, he's right in the mix here.
Okay, other fancy ones. T for 3 for me, old-fashioned, slow horse. Even the national won't be far enough, I think. Yeah,
he's one of those horses that people put up as a national type, but in reality, he's just, like you say, he's just a 4 mile plodder. I mean, he thrives off a forceful ride over extreme distances, soft ground. I just think he's there to be shot at, really.
Joined together, similar type in that respect?
Yeah, joined together for me. I do prefer joined together. I mean, he's only an 8-year-old. I think joined together is going to be one of those horses like Big Fella Thanks, who's going to be running in this race for the next 3 or 4 years.
And then we've got the ex-Gold Cup winner, Imperial Commander, whose connectors are very bullish about for you.
Yeah, Imperial Commander, technically he's off a good mark, but I mean, he's a 12-year-old who's had injury problems since his day in the sun at Cheltenham. He missed Cheltenham because of a setback. You could either look at that as a positive or a negative. I know that's a bit sitting on the fence there, but he's been given a fair chance by the handicapper, but not for me.
Okay, we've replaced Luke with Liam because you've got an outstanding Grand National record.
I do have a great record.
Luke last back one
sweepstakes,
1970 something. But you do okay. What would you back if the race was tomorrow?
Well, Colbert Station is sort of my main selection for this, but also at a massive price, around 50 to 1, is Saint R. He's only a 7-year-old, which I know everybody who was watching is going to be like, no, 7-year-olds don't win the national. They'd be right, but he's a horse who's absolutely crying out for decent ground on the flat track. He's got a great record at Aintree, admittedly not over these fences, but I think he's a knocking back to lay. I mean, I could easily see him turning in, being 5th or 6th, cruising. Whether he picks up from there is anybody's guess, but I think he saves his best for Aintree, and certainly, if not this year, next year, then Saint R is certainly one to take note of for me.
I'm going to go for Baltasar King at a price. Improve the cross-country test, now back regulation fences, wants good ground. Hobbs had a terrible year. You might finish it off with a good win in this, but it's very difficult, and whatever you back, good luck. We've got so many markets, it's taken me ages to mention them, and if we haven't got it, just ring up and ask. It's 08000 521 321 on our website starsportsbet.co.uk. Good luck this year, as every year. Thanks very much.